Hmm. Uh, hmm. Uh, oh. Yeah, alright, this'll do. Alright, that's all I need. Let's go for a walk. So, hey guys, I am going for a little walk. It's a nice enough day out, and I haven't done one of these in a while, so I figure it's a good idea to get one of these done. Our little talks that I used to do. And for a new year, too. Here it is, 2021, and stuff is still not perfect, but you know, we're trying our best. Anyway, I wanted to talk to you guys about something. You ever get a weird craving? Because I'll be honest, I don't usually. But when I do... Sorry, rude to talk with my mouth full. Whenever I do, I always find it comes out of nowhere. You ever notice that? And when I mean craving, I mean like to eat something. Like, I know people who sometimes they say they get a craving, and sometimes, like my friend Victoria, I mean, she's pregnant, so pregnant people sometimes get different cravings. And then you got, and then you got some days you're just walking around and all of a sudden you're like, you know what I want for lunch? I really want a peanut butter and pickle sandwich. Or, well, peanut butter and banana if you're like one of those other people, I don't know what they're thinking. Or, just today even, I forgot we had apples in the house. So I just kind of looked up and said, you know what, for my almost lunchtime snack, I think an apple might do the trick. But the funny thing is, when it comes to these treats and these snacks and these whatever, you never know when they're going to come up. These cravings just kind of appear. You can't always explain why you're having it. Sometimes you're just in the mood for something. Woo! Woo! I'm in a tree! That's better. So sometimes you might have a weird craving just because, you know, maybe it's just something you haven't had in a while. Maybe it's something you didn't notice that was in the fridge or in the cupboard. Sometimes it might even be a situation where your body's trying to tell you something. Like you're low on sugar. A friend of mine has that happen to her a lot. Or other things like that. But all in all, it's just a question of whether or not you want to eat something, and then you do. But you can't always say when it's going to happen. You definitely can't explain why sometimes. But all in all, you just have a craving. So, you go, you do something about it. Well, this week, in our readings in the church, there's an Old Testament reading. That's the older books. Usually the first reading we have. And it's about a little guy named Samuel. Now, Samuel is at the time, how do I put this? Interning, apprenticing, learning. He's a student. There you go. He's a student under a guy named Eli. And they're at they work at the temple, which is kind of like the church. And they're up there. And in the time that he's there, he receives what's called a call. A literal call. And I don't mean like on a phone or anything like that. Or like a text message or whatever, Instagram post. He literally just gets a call from God. And God is speaking to him in the middle of the night out of nowhere. No explanation why. No explanation as to the timing. No explanation as to what the message is really about. But every time he gets the call, Samuel wakes up, runs out to Eli and says, "What do you want?" Because he thinks it's Eli who's singing out to him, when really it's God calling him. And nowadays, if you say you have a calling, that means you're really good at something, or you feel like you're being drawn to do something, or something like that. And that's fine. But not everybody gets them. And when they do, they can't always explain why. Kind of like a craving. You can't always say when it's going to happen. You definitely can't explain why it's happening. But out of nowhere, you feel like that's something that you're being asked to do. And it's weird. Because when it happens, You don't expect it. When it happens, you're definitely not prepared for it. But all in all, you try to see what it's all about. And this is what Samuel did. At Eli's recommendation and direction and help, Eli basically tells him, well, listen, sit down and listen to what God has to say. And so he does. And God says to Samuel, basically, listen, I'm about to do something that's about to surprise, shock, and really shake up a lot of people, and you're going to help. And then Samuel goes on to have 2 books that has his name on it in the Bible. And it's pretty important. I won't get into those details right now, but my point is that sometimes a call to do something, a call to be drawn to something, a call to be something can happen anytime, anywhere, and it can happen to anybody. It doesn't matter what age you are, it doesn't matter where you're from, it doesn't matter what you look like, tall, short, thin, small, doesn't matter. But the thing about it is that sometimes, it suits some people better than others. I might have a call to be a concert pianist. That would require a lot of work, and I like music and all, but it would still require me to do a lot more training. I'm hardly a musical genius. I'm good, but but if I wanted to learn and to do it, it would take time. But it would have to be something that really calls to me, really speaks to me. And sometimes that doesn't always work. I had a friend who, when he was growing up, he was really good at hockey, but now he works, so fine. But at the same time, does he ever give up hockey? No, he still does it. It's just that it's something he enjoys. So that may be a hobby, but hardly a calling. So this is the difference, is that it's all about how important it is and how it might involve you. But the thing I want to stress to you is, no matter what it is, you got to remember that it can happen anytime, and sometimes you can't explain it. Sometimes you just can't. I have known people older who have decided some time in their life that they were being called to what I do. I've known people much younger than I who have felt the same way. And sometimes it could be for different things too. I've known people who took up painting, and they're excellent at it, but it took them a long time to get around to it because they had other things to do, like work, raise a family. Or I have other friends who are in school, who are very young, and they're in school, and they just can't do it because, well, they're busy doing those things, but they know in the background it's something that they enjoy and that they're good at and that they want to do, and they feel called to it. So what I'm suggesting to all of you, never feel like those calls should be ignored. Sometimes you can't fill a craving because maybe the apples aren't in the house. But sometimes everything is just right and the timing is good, and you should see what that call is all about. Sometimes you might have doubts. There was a guy named Jeremiah in the Bible, thought he was too young. He even told God, he said, but I'm so young. There was a guy named Jonah who thought, I ain't doing this. He got swallowed by a fish. A big fish. But nevertheless, he turned away from what God was asking him to do. And God told him, nah, I need you. Abraham, one of the first guys that are named in the Bible, a long time ago, was really old when he was asked by God to do something. And he and his wife had a kid. And they were like really old. And they still did it. They still managed. And so on. Never think that just because you're a guy or a girl, tall or short, white-skinned with red hair or whatever, that if you are called to something, you can't do it. Sometimes it might take a bit of work. Sometimes you might need to wait a while. Sometimes you might need to do it right away. But there's always an opportunity when God is knocking at the door and asking you to come out. So, like those cravings we get, sometimes it's a sign that you need something else or need to do something else. Talk to your family, talk to your friends, find the support you need. But no matter what, don't ignore it. See where it goes. And sometimes it'll lead you to some place you need to be, or some place that you'll find something even more new. Something that's surprising, and something that might completely shake you up, just as God did for Samuel. Anyway, it's colder than I thought. I'm going to go back in the house. And I'm not going that way because I ran into a tree. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Stay safe and pray safe, guys.